This is News 8 Now at noon.
Good afternoon and thank you for watching News 8 Now. I'm Sophia Pullman. It's day 3 of the trial for a former Cashton teacher and coach who is being accused of sexually assaulting a student. Here is a live look at the trial that is expected to wrap up today. 52-year-old Jeremy Mosley is charged with 2 separate felonies, including sexual assault of a student and child enticement. The victim appeared in court this week and said Mosley, her track coach at the time, assaulted her during a quote medical examination. Another former student of Mosley's testified yesterday about a separate incident. Testimonies from witnesses will continue today. Pelly Lee, La Crosse County Board Supervisor for District 1, has resigned. The chair of the county board is looking to fill the vacancy as soon as possible. Qualified candidates can submit letters of interest by April 14th at 4:30 in the evening. To qualify, you must be at least 18 years old and live in or plan to live in District 1 of La Crosse County, which covers most of French Island. The selected candidate will finish Lee's term and is expected to be sworn in on Monday, May 8th.
Well, it sure is a bit gusty out there this afternoon. You probably noticed, hey, it feels a little chilly out there, and you're not wrong, and that's because the wind speeds are looking slightly strong. Maybe not as strong as yesterday, though, but here's a check on them right now, and you can see we got gusts up to at least 30 miles an hour in both Eau Claire and La Crosse here currently. Now, we talked about the wind chills, right? It feels like it's into the 20s and 30s because of how gusty the conditions are outside now. As a result, it feels like 24 in Eau Claire, and it feels like 32 degrees currently in La Crosse. But the actual air temperatures, though, are mainly into the 30s, and some spots like the low 40s, like La Crosse there at 41. Bosqueville, one of the warmer spots that I can find here on the map, at 44. Eau Claire, you're currently much colder, though, at 35. Satellite and radar picture over the last 6 hours, definitely looking quiet. Most of the cloud cover as well to the north. We are looking nice and clear, as you can see from there, from City Cam 8. Plenty of sunshine expected for the afternoon forecast today, and a little cool and chilly out there still, but again, not as windy as what we've been seeing here recently over the last 24 hours, that is for sure. We'll time things out as far as those wind gusts and the wind chills here coming up in the full weather forecast. I'll let you know when our next big warm-up could be on the way. Sophia?
There's a dramatic increase in kids being found with THC or vaping devices in Monroe County. That's according to the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. In particular, the sheriff brought up community backlash against a recent arrest of an 18-year-old who was found with 45 pounds of marijuana, who authorities say intended on selling to kids. The county sheriff deputy says they understand that marijuana is legal in other states, but this case had a community impact.
When a case like this comes about, that there's community implications dealing with children, like you mentioned, down to 8 years old, using these substances, we felt it was important to conduct that investigation and subsequently make that arrest.
The department got a lot of response on social media, with people asking why they're not focusing on investigations involving more dangerous drugs like methamphetamine and opioids. Deputy Weaver says those investigations are constant, but they don't publicize the cases. The department released information about recent arrests involving harder drugs. We have more information on news8000.com. An update on the remains that were found in a Jackson County home. Jackson County Sheriff says the human remains found last month have been identified as 51-year-old Richard Lee Bork. His wife, Star Bork, is charged with first-degree intentional homicide in connection to his death. Last month, Star reported Richard missing, but the sheriff says details gathered in the investigation show he was allegedly killed by Star. 6 people have been arrested and charged in connection to the investigation. Associated Press reports Wisconsin voter turnout was nearly 40%, the highest spring turnout in 20 years. La Crosse County has an unofficial report of 52% voter turnout. UWL political science professor Anthony Chergosky says Janet Protasiewicz's campaign centering on abortion rights likely motivated voters more than Dan Kelly's above politics approach.
She made it very clear that she is pro-choice, and that was a huge test of how a judicial candidate could campaign for office. So Protasiewicz winning indicates that the approach of talking very bluntly about abortion was quite effective.
Kelly, in his final campaign speech Tuesday, called Protasiewicz a serial liar and not worthy of being an opponent. Wisconsin Republicans did get a win in the 8th Senate District on Wednesday's election. Republican Dan Knodel narrowly defeated Democrat Jody Habush-Sinenkin. Republicans now have a 2/3 supermajority in the state Senate. The win also gives Senate Republicans enough votes to convict civil officers in impeachment trials and to override a Governor Evers veto. However, a full override also needs 2/3 in the Assembly, and Republicans don't hold a majority in that chamber. Still to come, electric car sales are booming. An auto show in New York City is highlighting the automotive innovation. The New York International Auto Show opens to the public on Friday in New York City. And this year, electric cars are taking center stage, but buying one could be getting a little complicated. Bradley Blackburn tells us why.
The Hyundai Ioniq 6.
The World Car of the Year runs on e-Power. Hyundai's Ioniq 6 took home the top prize at the New York International Auto Show.
Like most electric cars, I know this thing can accelerate.
That it can.
The company took us for a spin. It starts at about $45,000 and can travel up to 360 miles on a charge.
How quick can it go, 0 to 60?
Officially 5.1.
The Ioniq joins a wide selection of electric vehicles at this year's show, as many consumers are making the shift. Last year, Americans bought more than 800,000 new EVs, a 65% increase over 2021. And Cox Automotive is forecasting 1 million sales this year. Many electric buyers have received federal tax credits of up to $7,500, but the list of cars that qualify is expected to shrink very soon.
You think this is going to be a big seller?
Oh, yes.
Kristen Lee with Motor Trend says in mid-April, the government will reveal new rules. EVs made overseas or even domestic brands with certain imported components won't qualify for full credits.
I guess if you have your eye on an EV and you know it's eligible for the full federal credit, you have a few days left to go down to the dealership.
Tesla says the credit will be reduced for some versions of the popular Model 3.
Some cars will remain eligible, some cars won't be eligible, some will be eligible for partial credit.
The tax changes aren't expected to slow production. Nearly all the major automakers are driving ahead to an electric future. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
The full list of electric vehicles that qualify for full federal tax credit is expected to be released April 18th. As we head to break, here is a live look at the New York Stock Exchange. Stay with us. More news is next. How a common sleep problem can affect cognitive decline and more potential health problems from air pollution. Nicole D'Antonio has more on today's top health stories.
Exposure to air pollution may increase the risk of developing dementia. That's according to a new analysis of dozens of studies from Harvard's T.H. Chan School of Public Health. Researchers say these results can be used by organizations like the EPA, which is currently considering stronger limits on exposure to fine particulate air pollutants. Another study links air pollution to lower antibody responses to COVID-19 vaccines. Research and environmental health perspectives found being exposed to higher levels of air pollution was associated with a 5 to 10% decrease in vaccine antibody responses among people who had not been affected with COVID-19. And a group of international researchers have shown for the first time that in middle-aged men, sleep apnea can cause early cognitive decline. The cognitive deficits were seen even if patients were otherwise healthy and not obese. It's believed that a majority of people with sleep apnea do not know they have it. Those are some of the day's top health stories. Nicole D'Antonio, CBS News, Washington.
Here's a look at CityCam 8. Derek is in next with our forecast.
Well, it serves a beautiful start here to the afternoon. As you can see behind me from CityCam 8, crystal clear blue sky and really not a cloud in sight. A lot of dry air, plenty of substance in the atmosphere to allow us to see those clear skies, and we got 41 degrees being the current temperature now in La Crosse, with gusty conditions coming out of the southwest. We're seeing gusts up to 30 miles an hour at the airport being reported. Southwest winds sustained though at around 18 miles an hour. Current conditions to the north in Eau Claire, 35 degrees, a little bit windy here too. You can see the camera jumping around there a little bit. Gusty conditions out of the west at 30 miles an hour, sustained though at 22 miles an hour currently. Current wind speed and direction here, you can see anywhere between 15 to 20 miles an hour. Some spots looking a little bit higher, as we just saw in Eau Claire, a little bit windier there. 22 mile per hour wind speeds was that last report. Wind gust tracker showing anywhere between around 20 to 30 mile per hour wind gusts, which will continue through at least the majority of the afternoon. Now we start to see the wind gust here begin to decline here by the time we reach 5 o'clock. As you can see, the majority of the gusty winds now centered around central Wisconsin. We'll start to see some little bit of gusty conditions here around 20 miles an hour or so before they begin to subside up to around 10 to 15 miles an hour by around 8 p.m. here this evening. Now, because it's a little bit windy and because it's a little cool out there with our temperatures, that is making our wind chills make our temperatures feel like they're currently in the 30s, which will continue, by the way, through at least 2 o'clock this afternoon. Now, this is going into 5 o'clock, and you can see that our wind chills will be a little bit warmer into the upper 30s to low 40s by this point. So there is a little bit of light here at the end of the tunnel. It's not going to be cold for too much longer, especially since we have high pressure here building to our southwest, and that is going to be moving in our general location here today. That's going to really help warm us up here, especially over the next couple of days, which we'll get to in a second. But I do want to show you what's happening now, and you can see not really a whole lot, a couple of clouds to the north, but we are looking at mainly crystal clear conditions thanks to high pressure just off to our southwest downstream building in our location, and that is going to continue to clear the skies here for today. 6 o'clock looking clear, but by tonight though, I am expecting a little bit of moisture kind of moving in here, and that could allow some clouds to develop overnight. And then by 8 o'clock, they're pretty much gone by that point. We should be waking up to morning lows into the upper 20s to low 30s as well. Here comes some increasing clouds. We are watching a bit of a warm front boundary that's going to actually move in here tomorrow, and that will help increase the clouds here just a little bit. And in fact, it could spawn some scattered rain showers here well off to our north, and maybe even a little bit of some snow here that could mix together near the Wausau area by around 8 o'clock tomorrow evening, and then that will drift towards the north by overnight. Meanwhile, the rest of us, including La Crosse, will probably be on the cloudier side of things. This will last into Saturday here, but notice that we will have that southerly wind flow though, and that will give us temperatures to warm up into the upper 40s to low 50s. And in fact, there are some warmer conditions on the way here as well. In fact, by this weekend, I do expect highs to reach the 60s, and in fact, the upper 60s there on Easter Sunday. Now, we're not quite done warming up just yet, because as you can see, by the time we reach next week, it's going to get a heck of a lot warmer. In fact, we could be looking at highs into the 70s as we head into Tuesday, and kind of last into throughout the rest of next week here as well. In fact, we could be as warm as the mid 70s here, it looks like. Too. So
Derek, yeah. Do not get my hopes up.
Hey, you know, I'll get your hopes up. No. It's fun to get your hopes up.
No.
Warmer weather's coming, whether you like it or not.
I'll believe it when I see it.
All right, fine.
When we come back, unleashing memories a half-century old, the Sun Prairie community is enjoying the ultimate throwback after discovering a 52-year-old time capsule.
The news continues on News 8 Now. Expect more.
Excitement is in the air in Sun Prairie. The community opened a time capsule from 52 years ago. Those who got to see what was inside the capsule say the whole experience brought memories flooding back.
It's just great, all the stuff that's here.
A blast from the past, 52 years in the making.
I was shocked when I got the notice that there was a time capsule to be opened. I forgot about it.
During the demolition of what used to be the Sun Prairie Junior High School, crews made an unexpected discovery.
Let us know that they had found a box in the walls of the building that was about to be demolished.
It turns out that box was a time capsule from 1971, a time 96-year-old Ollie Berge remembers well. He was the superintendent of a booming Sun Prairie school district.
The Air Force came in and built 280 homes there, in a hurry. That's how we move so fast.
Berge says more students meant the district needed more money, but that was usually easier said than done.
Booked it on the budget was brought back memories just like that.
During his 13 years as superintendent, he saw through 12 referendums for more funding.
But there were some very vicious arguments on some of those meetings.
But while the time capsule reminds Burge of the challenges of a growing district, what stands out most is the people who made it all worth it.
A list of the teachers, I thought how I'd love to see some of them again.
And that feeling is mutual.
Came in 1970. Ollie Berge hired me. He was such a nice man, just so congenial, and really a great founding father for here.
Stay with us. We'll have one more check of your forecast when we return.
Well, tomorrow will be much warmer, high of 54. A little cloudier, though, looking at 60s, though, for this weekend. Cloudy skies here for much of next week, but I'm happy to tell you, though, that it will be much warmer. In fact, significantly warmer. In fact, we'll be in the 70s by Tuesday. That will mark for the first time this year. I know Sophia's happy. She's bouncing off the walls. Well, maybe not so much right now, but she will off air, trust me.
I'm very excited. I'm going to be outside all weekend.
Yeah, why not?
Thanks, Derek.
All right.
And thank you for watching News 8.